I'm going to make him my nap of the week.
Oh. Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel for our Day 2 preview and final selections of the Cheltenham Festival 2021. Myself and Josh here, we recorded the Day 1 preview. Hopefully you watched that yesterday. If you haven't already, do go and watch it, and hopefully you've enjoyed that and you're looking forward to Day 2, and hopefully we'll have all backed a couple of winners by the end of the Tuesday.
If not, we've got plenty of ground to make up.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we've still got a long week ahead of us, and hopefully if we haven't found any winners on the Tuesday, Wednesday might be our calling card. Some brilliant racing, some brilliant horses in action. Josh, how are you feeling?
I had the Wednesday off last year, and I love the Wednesday. I love the Ballymore, and it's followed by the RSA or the Brown Advisory now. Couple of good handicaps and the Champion Chase, so it's a brilliant day's racing and I'm looking forward to previewing it.
No place better to start off than the Ballymore Novices Hurdle, and it looks a hot renewal this year. Three very good novice hurdlers in Gallard de Menil, Brave Man's Game and Bob Olinger. You've also got the likes of Bear Gills in the race, so it looks a strong race both depth wise and quality wise. Josh, all year you keep going on to me about Paul Nicholls' horses. And we've said this before, we said it in the Novice Hurdle preview, that you love Harry Cobden, you love Paul Nicholls, and yet you've got a horse that actually ticks every box, I think, that you look for in a national hunt horse, and you're going to tell me you're not going to back it.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's not something that I've just came out with now. It's something that I have had that opinion for a lot of the season. I just think Bob Olinger is extremely special. We touched on the fact that Gallard de Menil, I don't think he should be the price that he is. I'd make him the biggest price of all three. I think the market sort of found that out now. Bob Olinger is favourite. The only horse that's beaten him is Fernie Hollow, and I think he'd be a short price favourite for the Supreme Novices Hurdle if he wasn't injured. He's got gears, he's won a grade 1 over 2.5. He's beaten quick horses, he's beaten stayers. I think he ticks every box, and I think there's so much more to come as well. I'm not getting away from the fact that Brave Man's Game, like you say, is the perfect Paul Nicholls type. And I was at Exeter, I've said it a million times, and he's the most beautiful horse I've ever seen. But he is really stunning in the paddock, and he's a brilliant horse at that. So impressive. He won the Shallow really impressively. In any other year, it would be Brave Man's Game. I'm just taken by Bob Olinger, and I think he's very special.
Yeah, there's no getting away from how good Bob Olinger is. He was definitely impressive in the Lawlers and Ace race, beating Glue Lord, who wouldn't be without a chance in the Supreme himself. Look, it's very unlike me for me to be going with the Paul Nicholls horse and you to be staying in Ireland. I don't know, we've changed personas for 5 minutes, but I've been keen on Brave Man's Game all year for this race. I think he's going to knock that Shallow Hurdle stat out of the park. He won the Shallow by 10 lengths. It's not just a bang average, 2-length winner of the Shallow Hurdle. Stargate, I think, is a lovely horse for Evan Williams that he's beaten. Wild About Oscar couldn't go the gallop whatsoever. He went on to win a listed race by 12 lengths. And the Glancing Queen probably wouldn't be without an each-way chance in the Mayor's Novices Hurdle if she was on her A game. So I think the form of that's pretty good. I'd be with you. I'd probably just take on Gallard de Menil on the face of things. His maiden hurdle form at Leopardstown at Christmas time is good. It's very strong, beating Mr. Incredible and Magic Days, but I'm just not so sure about the Nathaniel Lacey form. Beat an awful lot of horses that will be turning up in the Albert Bartlett, and he will have to improve on that form, I believe, to go and win this race. Again, in a normal year, Gallard de Menil would be skimpy odds. For Willie Mullins, Paul Town and the Donnellys, you wouldn't even consider taking him on. But you've got Bob Olinger and Brave Man's Game, so this isn't a normal year. These are three very good horses.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker. And Gallard de Menil, as much as we've bashed him on the channel, he wouldn't be a massive shock if he was to win. He fits the right profile. He was impressive last time out. I'm just not convinced he's up to it against the two at the head of the market. We'll move on then to the RSA, and I don't think we're going to be talking about this race for much longer. Monkfish, so impressive this year. There was doubts whether he'd have the speed over 2.5 last time out in the Flowgas at the Dublin Racing Festival, and he put those doubters to bed. He tucked them in and said goodnight. He is absolutely electric. Jumps. He's getting better, which is the scary thing. I think in the Albert Bartlett last year, he was still quite a leggy horse, and he still had some learning to do. Looks like he's put that together, and if he continues at the rate that he is, improvement-wise, he's going to be ridiculous next year. And I think this could be a pretty comfortable winner for Paul Townend.
Yeah, you'd like to hope so. I think if you're a racing fan and you don't want Monkfish to win, you're in it for the wrong reasons, really. I think he's a super horse. He's hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be a Gold Cup contender next year. And look, there's previews out there that will try to get him beat and stuff like that. I don't like just trying to take horses on for taking them on purposes. Would I be steaming it? I don't back very many odds on horses myself, but he's going to win, I believe. I don't see anything in there to beat him. I think latest exhibition's the second best 3-mile novice chaser, and he's not even going to run in the race. So I think he's got plenty in hand, and I really hope he does do the business, because he's a super horse, and you want to see these good horses winning the big races.
Latest exhibition's got Min syndrome, just coming up against 1 2 Good, but one day he's going to have his Ryanair or Ryanair victory. He's going to have his day out in the sun, and I'm looking forward to that day, and you're going to be unbearable that day. We'll move on then to the Coral Cup, a really competitive handicap. It's a race that I've struggled to back winners in. I'm going to put my hands up with that. I think if you could have an absolute cert in this, I'd like the lottery numbers for tonight as well. So it's an interesting race, plenty of angles. Where's your money going to go here?
I'm like yourself. I don't have a brilliant record in the race. I think I backed Super Sunday, which was my only winner of the race in 6 stabs. But I've been quite keen on Kashari for this race for quite a while. I actually put up a tweet about him initially in kind of mid-January time, where I was having too much time on my hands looking through the anti-post markets. He was 25 to 1 for the Coral Cup then. He's now 10 to 1, and look, he's a horse that's been found in the market, but he only got £2 from the English handicapper, which puts him up to a mark 146. If he eliminates his jumping mistakes, he made a couple of bad mistakes at Leopardstown in the William Fry, and he ended up coming 6th, never near really. If he eliminates those mistakes, he's got a bit of back class to this horse. This is a race that actually sometimes suits a horse near the top of the weights that does have that class. Willie Mullins obviously went so close with Wicklow Brave 2 years ago off top weight. This horse won't even have to carry top weight. He's in there off, I think, 11.4, I believe, off 146. I think he's got a massive chance, and he'd be one of my stronger selections of the week in handicaps, that being said. I do stress I don't have a great record in the Coral Cup, but I'm really hoping I might have figured this one out.
No, I agree. I think this year's a bit weird with handicaps, because I think we've had so much time to look into them, and some of the horses that may have aren't running because of the whole travel restrictions and stuff like that. It's made them quite, not easy, but I'm more convinced with my selections this year than I ever have been in handicaps. So it's a good shout. I think he's got a good chance, and is very eye-catching at the Dublin Racing Festival. The horse I like, though, and a few people have put him up, is Monte Cristo for Nicky Henderson and Simon Meniere. He's only 5, so he's got plenty of improvement hopefully to come. Many horses over the Christmas period go under the radar because there's so much good action. I think he was one of those. I was very impressed with how he finished, and he looks a completely different horse to what he's shown before. He's obviously not got much experience. That would tame my enthusiasm, but I think at 14 to 1 or whatever price he is now, I think there's plenty of improvement to come, and he's a very nice profile for the race. Nicky Henderson has a tremendous record, and if there's going to be a horse that can really improve and go on to be a nice chaser in the future, I think it's Monte Cristo. I think he's a nice horse as well.
Yeah, look, it's a very trappy handicap, and I'm sure you could make a case for an awful lot of them, especially some of those near the top of the market. We move on to the feature race on day 2, the Champion Chase. Sees Chacun Poursuivre, please God, get his chance to right his festival wrongs of the last couple.
Touch wood.
Over the last couple of years, he looks to have the form in the race to go and win it. There is the likes of Altior in there, who everyone keeps telling me would be brilliant for racing if Altior comes back to his best. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. You've also got Nube Negra. Dan Skelton gave him a big up the other day on the Racing Post, I believe, and put the kettle on in their last year's Arca winner. So there are viable contenders. Would you be siding with the favourite, or would you be looking to take him on?
Out of all the shorties at the whole festival, I think I'd want Chacun Poursuivre to win the most. But because it's a Champion Chase, for some reason I doubt him the most. we've not seen him at Cheltenham, and that could be a downer. That could be very positive. He could be very, very good. He's got the best form in the race this year. He's been so impressive in Ireland. He was ridden better last time out, I think, to suit him more. And if you look at the English, I love the Skeltons, but Nube Negra, if he wins a champion chase, unfortunately, it'd be a bit like last year. I'd be bitterly disappointed. I think Altior's got too slow. He jumps far too big now. He looks lethargic. And he wouldn't be for me. Politolog didn't look anything special last time out in the Clarence House. The winner of that was First Flow. He'll need it bottomless to have a squeak. It's just one of those races that I really want Chacun to put in a really breathtaking performance, and we have a superstar 2-miler on our hands. And next year, the prospects of an Enegamine or a Shishkin going up against him would be fantastic. I'm not sure I'd be getting stuck in at the prices that he's currently at. If he drifts a little bit on the day, unlikely, because we've not seen him there, then I would back him. But other than that, I really wouldn't have a strong opinion in it. What about yourself?
Yeah, look, Chacun is one of these horses that people are kind of love to bash in some ways, I believe, and I'd be with you. He'd be one of the horses I'd really, really love to win this year. It's a little bit like Min last year in the Ryanair. Everyone looked to take him on, and I was just so glad he got his day, and I'm really hoping Chacun has it himself. As a result, you can still get 10 to 11 or nearly even money about him. And to be honest, if we were basing it, if this race was to be run at Leopardstown, say, I think the horse would be 4 to 6, 4 to 7, based on his form this year. So you could argue that actually, because of the naysayers that kind of want him to be beaten, he's not a bad price. And actually, he'd be one of the short-priced favourites. I don't know whether it's a heart over head thing, but I certainly would be backing this week. I think he's got as good a chance as any of the other short-priced favourites of the week. I think he's miles clear of the rest on his form this year. He jumps super, he travels super. I think people say he doesn't hit the line very strong. He hit the line extremely strong in the Dublin Chase the last day. The only thing with this horse is he gets bone idle out in front. And that's what's happened a couple of times at Leopardstown, that they've sent him on because of his jumping at like 2 out. And it's a long enough way home from Leopardstown from 2 out to the line. And it's a little bit uphill, which, you know, it's not Cheltenham Hill, obviously, but it is a bit of an incline. And horses can get plenty lonely on that run-in. So I believe if he can sit in behind the likes of a Politolog and almost just take it all from going to the last, ping the last, and away he goes. I just love to see it happen. I think people have it in their head, and probably rightly so. Willie Mullins, the Champion Chase seems to have a hex over Willie Mullins. Like poor old Duvan even got beat in it at 1 to 4. You know, things have all gone wrong in the race.
You could have said that a couple of years ago about the Gold Cup and Willie Mullins.
Exactly, and these things do change, and Mullins has so much good ammunition, and this is such a good chance. I don't think you could be holding it against him, and really, it probably, apart from Album Photo, he'd be my most satisfactory winner of the entire week, because I just know there's people out there, especially more English people than Irish people, that just love to crabble. And I don't understand why there were people at the start of the year crabbing his jumping. Like, God only knows about his form around Cheltenham, perhaps, but his jumping is absolutely super.
I do think these rumours have come out of thin air, though. Some people were saying that people have described him as a fridge over offence. I've not seen one person describe him as a fridge over offence.
Oh, there was people, though, after he ran at Cork on his reappearance, and I think he made one niggly mistake. He got in tight, I think, to 4 out. Suddenly everyone was up in arms. Oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. It's actually, it's Altior propaganda people that are saying these things. They're actually trying to annoy me. It's as if they go on Twitter going, what's going to annoy Andrew the most today? Well, maybe I'll take a jab, Chacun Boursois, and say that Altior winning and this like that. But I really hope he wins. I wouldn't put anyone off having a couple of quid, especially in the place markets or the without markets on Put the Kettle On. I think she's got a grand chance of running a big race for Henry de Bromhead. She's a real likeable mare as well. But like, if Put the Kettle On beats Chacun Boursois, I will be, even though I will have backed Put the Kettle On each way, and probably will have won more money for her winning, I'll feel deflated.
I'd love to see Chacun win the champion chase. The next race is the Glenfarclas Cross Country Chase. Now, your anti-post bets had a bit of a hit this week, Andrew. You're shaking your head. Tell us why.
Well, I was just very sweet on this Ajas in the cross country, and just the reasoning behind him not running. Like, I can understand it, but like as an anti-post punter, you just don't feel like just any justice in the world. Like, he's not injured. Apparently, he's working the doors down at home. Like, I've heard that he's actually potentially working better than Easy's Land, and the owner's not running him because he can't go and see him. I do understand that. I'm not the one paying the bills. I've had a small anti-post bet on him, so I can't be too complaining. But as a result, the race does nothing for me this year, actually. And it's a race I do quite like. I'm not anti-cross country at all. I do really like it. I wouldn't back Easy's Land in a fit at even money on better ground. I think Tiger Roll, you're just backing on sentiment if you back him. Potter's Corner has been overrated ever since he won the virtual national. I'm convinced people believe he won the Grand National last year. The way people talk about Potter's Corner, it was a virtual race. Let's just remember that. He's a lovely horse, but I don't think he'll win this race. And as a result, I've no real say. I backed him at 10-1. He was into 4-1 when he was a non-runner. I had got the right horse, the right price, and now I'm sitting here just bereft.
You were starting petitions for the owners to become stable staff so they can travel over. I did feel extremely sorry for you. JP McManus won't be there, but he's still sending Easy's Land. Like you say, he's a short enough price. But if you look at the race, it's not a vintage renewal.
I think you're saying things very nicely there, Josh, saying it's not a vintage renewal.
Hogan Height, Outsam, Alpha de Zobo, Sunneck, Lebroy, Balco de Flo, Lord de Menil, JD Operator, Potter's Corner, Tiger Roll. Half of them aren't going to run. I don't think any of them would be able to get near Easy's Land within 20 lengths on his absolute day. It's a short price, but I think I'm willing to take it on the basis that he was fourth and disappointing at the November meeting at Cheltenham, but he had to give a lot of weight away that day, and I'm hoping he can return to some vein of form that he was in last year, and if he does, he's not going to be beaten. But yeah, quite a horrific Glenfarclas cross-country chase. I'm a fan of the race and the series, but blimey, it's a poor final.
Yeah, no, it's just cut up this year. The likes of Tiger Roll probably being past his best. Then there's actually two good French horses that aren't running in Ajas and Uni Katat, both of whom have opted to stay in France.
Okay, when did you become a French expert?
Well, actually, because it was a race that I had no say in for the entire year, and then it was the first week of February, and I really got into I delved deep into it, and I was watching Ajas's runs on the At The Races website, looking at his jumping, looking at how he was handling bends, how he was jumping banks. Same with Uni Katat, and then within a couple of weeks, both of them are non-runners, and both of them, I think, would probably be in the frame, because the French have a super record in the race. I'm devastated Urgent de Gregan isn't still running around. I could back him each way, but it's unfortunately not maybe one of the more vintage races of the week. But we move on to one of the toughest handicaps of the week, the Grand Annual. It's going to get a bit of coming used to the Grand Annual not being on the Friday, the second last race where I usually be blowing a lot of my winnings or previous losses on the Grand Annual and losing a bit more. But it's an equally competitive race this year. I know you're quite sweet on one. You put him up in the handicap video. Joseph O'Brien trained in Tucas. You might let people that haven't watched that video know your thoughts behind him.
I'm going to make him my nap of the week.
Oh. Now let's just put this into perspective. We're putting up a nap of the week that has won one race. A maiden hurdle around Naas. Proceed.
Yeah. He's 8-1 for the race. I think that he won't be out of the first three. And let me try and convince you why. Very good novice hurdler without winning many times, like you mentioned. Second behind Classical Dream, that was close. He went on to win the Supreme. Second season novice hurdler. I love these second season novice hurdlers. He finished behind Onvar Allen. He was behind Cedarwood Road and Beacon Edge, who have both turned out to be pretty good horses. And Chase debut second to unaccepted, but he beat the third horse, who's rated 140 now, Rebels Gold, by 9 lengths off the level weights. I think that he's a good horse as well, back in third. Fairly good round of jumping on his second start, finished second again, and then he finished second in a handicap chase, fourth in another handicap chase, and fourth at the Dublin Racing Festival in a handicap chase where we backed Away Over the Sea. But the ride that he was given this could get me into trouble. The ride that he was given, not last time out, the time before, was quite quiet. I think he was ridden to finish well, and then the last day, I think it was the opposite. I think he kicked on early and he didn't quite get the trip home. I just think there's a big plan in this horse. 143 is lenient, and I'm convinced Joseph O'Brien wins the race. He's got so many to chuck at it. I think Away Over the Sea will go up in trip, but Embitter's got a very similar profile. I wouldn't put you off him each way, and I'm probably going to back both of them. I think one of them will win. I really fancy Tukas. I'm going to make him my nap of the week at 8-1.
I'd be with you on Embittered. Actually, I think he's got a very good chance in this race. I just slightly like the form with the slightly better horses in the Grade 1 races he's been running in. I know he's been well beat back in fourth behind Energamine. He was third at Christmas time as well. Second behind Easy Work in a beginner's chase. So I think that brings a lot of form to the table. I completely understand. I know I give you a lot of abuse for him too, because I completely get the angle. I would certainly be backing him each way, though. I just have a feeling he's one of these nearly horses. You look at his profile, there's a lot of twos. An awful lot of twos.
He's a nearly horse because this has been the target. This is the target.
Well, so
it's a master plan.
So he was being planned for the Grand Annual when he was a novice hurdler as well.
As a 3-year-old store, he was picked out for this. It's been the target, Andrew. I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, it could well be, and I'll have egg on my face if it is. But I wouldn't be quite as convinced. The one I'm beginning to come round to, just the drier the weather gets, the drier the ground gets, and I do believe they've got a plan in store for Chosen Mate in this race. Last year's winner, he won the race superbly off mark 147. I know some people thought he might actually make up into being a champion chase horse this year. He's been put up, he's £9 higher than he was last year. He's off 156. I know, again, this is going to get me in trouble, but I think he's been a blatant non-trier the whole of the winter. He doesn't like soft, heavy ground, I completely get that, but he's gotten a few questionable rides. He was up at 2.5 miles the last day. He's never looked like he could stay 2.5. So I think this has been the plan to get him a feasible rating.
I don't think the handicap is blind to it. I think that he knows that this has been the plan, and like you say, he put him down a couple, but 156 is still lofty, and he must be the best winner ever, or the highest rated winner of the race if he was to win off 156.
Yeah, he probably would be, but here's where my big kind of idea comes to mind, and it is in the shape of the man on the street at the moment, Jordan Gainford. He's the new man on the block. He's ridden a couple of winners for Gordon Ellis. I think he's only had a handful of professional rides and has had a couple of winners, and he's claiming £7. And I tell you, he's going to ride out his claim in a couple of years. Like, he's the next Jack Kennedy on the conveyor belt, I believe. He's got a real, good old head on young shoulders. They won't be phased giving him rides. It wouldn't surprise me at all, actually, if he takes the ride on the Boss's Oscar in the Pertemps either to claim off him, because if he's claiming 7 off Chosen Mate, in effect he's actually only £2 higher than what he was last year, and he certainly won the race as if he had £2 in hand last year. It was an absolute blot off 147. So that's my angle with him. You can still get 16-1. I just think if they claim off him, which I'd be very shocked they won't claim off him, I think he's got a massive chance in this race of, in effect, of 149, which is a feasible mark, unlike 156.
My nap is running scared. He's not. He's still going to win, hopefully. But I agree with you there. The 3 in the race would be Antukas, Chosen Mate and Embittered. I'd be sweet on him too, because I really think he's got a brilliant chance, and he'd be my best chance of a handicap winner at the Cheltenham Festival, in my opinion, going into it. So there we go. A few people like to put up short price nap. I'm not one of those. I'm going to go for N2 at a bigger price in the Grand Annual. Not to shade anyone that will do that. Let's move on then to the final race on the Wednesday, the Weatherby's Champion Bumper. This race has changed complexion, given the fact that Sir Gerhard is now with Willie Mullins. I really quite liked him if he was still at Gordon Elliott, but the fact that he's had to move yards, he's very, very good, but he's still quite young, and that would tame my enthusiasm with him. Are you in the same camp, or are you sticking by him? Because I know you're quite sweet on him.
Yeah, I think overall I'm probably going to give him a chance. I would echo your thoughts. I wouldn't be mad on these Cheveley Park horses that have had to change stable. It can't be ideal, especially for younger horses. I was, though, very, very keen on him before he moved, and I'd feel bad if I moved away from him and then he won. I'd feel like I had the winner and I've just thrown it away. So I don't want to be in that position, so I'm probably going to keep the faith with him. I'm still not convinced with this Kilcrush performance at Leopardstown. It was superb. He may well be as good as that is, and if he is, he'll win the Champion Bumper. There's no getting away from that. I'd be prepared to see it before I believe it. I know some people have put up 3 Stripe Life each way in the race. He might run well. It's a real shame, actually, when you look at the form that's coming out of the races, that Pam Sly's mare isn't running in this race, Eileen Dover, because the form of her race at Market Racing's working out super, and she absolutely banjacks that field as well. So she's certainly one to keep an eye on come Aintree, where she's going to run in the Mare's Bumper there. But I'm just about going to side with Sir Gerhard, but it wouldn't be one of my stronger plays of the week, because I would hold the concerns that I know you have as well.
Wouldn't have a strong opinion, wouldn't go in heavy, but Kilcrush for me. I hope that he gets the job done. I think that concludes it then on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you hit that like button. It really does help out the channel, helps us reach a wider audience, and hopefully we can grow with that help as well. I hope you have a brilliant Wednesday of the Cheltenham Festival. I hope at this point, when you're watching this, you've got all your 7 selections in mind, and you're ready and raring to go. You don't have to listen to us. We know nothing. So if you do want to let us know your selections, put them down in the comments below, and I'm going to look forward to reading them all, and I'll probably back a couple as well. Ones where you read them and go, should have backed that. Always happens. So yeah, best of luck, and thank you very much for watching. If you do enjoy this video and you're new around here, hit that subscribe button.